Hello, and welcome to my kids' middle grade TBR list for the summer. I'm Rebecca, and I am going to share what we've kind of collected and gathered over the last couple of weeks so that my kids have an extensive stack of books that they can just grab from over the summer. I've got two kids ages 12 and 9, and we really love to participate in our summer reading programs. So our library is hosting one. It comes with some tickets to discounts or free things to do in our area, but last year it also came with a book. And so I'm hoping that this year we'll be able to go into the library and pick out a free book as well. And then secondly, we always do the Barnes & Noble summer reading program as well. If you're not familiar, you can have your kid fill out books that they read. They have to write the title, the author, and their favorite part. You go and you turn that into Barnes & Noble, and then you're able to, based on generally on age group, choose a free book from their list. Even without the summer reading programs, I still love to have books that are edifying and also fun to read over the summer. So I'm going to start with my 12-year-old's TBR list. So we've got 3 Newbery books. Some are the Medal, and I think some of them are Honor. So we have Moon Over Manifest by Claire Vanderpool. This is the story of Abilene Tucker, whose father sends her to his hometown. He doesn't actually journey with her. She has lost her mother, and she has now gone to his hometown. And this is really kind of a surprise enjoyment for me. I read it last summer and really wasn't sure, but enjoyed it immensely. There's a little bit of mystery in there, and so it's just a really great read. It's actually pretty thick as well for a middle grade, but I loved it, and I think my oldest will love it as well. And then next I have Hoot by Carl Hyacin. So Hoot is a Newbery Honor book. I have also read this. My daughter loves birds, and I think she will enjoy this. So this is the story of Roy, who lives in a town in Florida, and one morning he sees something strange, which is a boy running as fast as he can, barefoot, not going in the direction of school, while Roy is on the bus going to school. And this is the story of a very rapidly industrializing area. So a lot of construction and industry growth is happening in his area. That really coincides with the story of this boy running barefoot in the opposite direction of school. This is about caring for our environment and caring for other creatures in the environment, hopefully above the mighty dollar. And it's fun and funny, and I think because my daughter loves birds, she will love this as well. Another Newbery Medal is The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. This starts and ends, I think, on the 4th of July. I know it ends on the 4th of July. You can see there's fireworks. So this is the story of a girl named Turtle, and she and her family and some other people are targeted and asked to move into an apartment building that is sort of down the hill from this mansion. And I think it's Halloween, she sees activity at the house, and it turns out there has been a murder. Samuel Westing, who is this very wealthy man who lives in their town and runs the main, I think it's a paper mill. He runs this, he has all this money, he ends up murdered. And everyone in the apartment is a suspect, and they start getting these really weird clues and trying to figure out who the culprit is. And this actually has not been my favorite book, which I know is kind of controversial because I know people who absolutely love this story. But I do think that my daughter is at the age where this would be a good first murder mystery for her. And so I have put this on her list for her to try to read this summer. Next is Chasing Redbird. This is another one that I have picked out. This is by Sharon Creech. I have read a couple others of Sharon Creech. This is the story of Zinni, and there's all kinds of family issues going on. with some deaths in the family and just a lot of kind of sibling issues. But Zinni decides that she is going to revamp and work through this trail that leaves from their town and goes to a different area. It's a very long trail, and her parents actually approve her to get a backpack and a sleeping bag and spend some time not having to take the time to walk all the way back home, but to continue to clear the trail and just camp out. And I love this wild and free permission that she's been given to just go and camp out and clear this trail. And I really think that my daughter would benefit greatly from reading Chasing Redbird. Another one that I really would like her to read is Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. This is by Kate Douglas Wiggin. And this is the story of Rebecca Rowena Randall and the fact that she is going to go live with her aunts. Her father has passed away and her mother can't feed all of the kids that she has. And so Rebecca gets farmed out to her aunts, and the idea here is that they're going to help raise her and train her, and she's going to do work for them. And you can kind of tell by the cover where she's like leaning against the wet paint post. Her intentions are always good, but she does seem to end up in mischief a lot. This is written in 1903, and so the language is a little archaic, but I love the wholesome story. And obviously, as a Rebecca myself, Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm was very formative for me in my youth, and I think my daughter is at the age where she can appreciate it. Okay, so those 5 are the ones that I'm really kind of saying I think that she would enjoy it and I'd like her to try them. Now, just to be clear, there's no huge amount of pressure on this. If she doesn't get to these this summer, I'll just add them to the stack next summer. She will get through them. She's a voracious reader. So now I'm gonna go into the ones that she has collected from little free libraries, found on our shelves, and has chosen to read. So the first one is Lynn Kelly's A Song for a Whale. Iris is a 12-year-old girl who is hearing impaired, and she has a passion for radios and actually like works on them and repairs them. It's really interesting because she is hearing impaired, but that is her passion. She hears about this whale who is separated from a pod and doesn't seem to be able to connect to the pod, and she develops this theory related to sound on why that is, and she ends up on a journey, and it's a really interesting perspective on the hearing and the hearing impaired communities and how hearing parents raise a child who is hearing impaired. It's really one of my favorite reads from last summer, and she's been wanting to read that, so that's on her list. This is Shiloh by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, and this is the story of a boy named Marty who, it's very thin, who sees this dog and sees who his owner is and has already developed these preconceived notions of what this owner must be like just from other behavior that he's seen from this person, and he decides that he is going to rescue this dog from this abusive owner. So I have not actually read this, so I'm hoping that there's not anything that's really terrible treatment in here of the dog, that is just kind of inferred, but she's an animal lover, and so she wanted to read that one. She picked this one out of a little free library, and this is called David and the Phoenix by Edward Mondroyd. With her love of birds, I think that's the main reason she loves the Phoenix in Harry Potter. So I don't know that much about it. It is published by Purple House, and I love Purple House books, and so I'm excited about this. It's probably an older print that they have brought back, because that's what Purple House does. But this is, I think, the story about a boy who ends up befriending a phoenix, and they have to kind of battle this nefarious person who wants to capture the phoenix. And so it is their journey to do that. And I mean, it looks like there's a dragon in it, so I think she will enjoy that as well. This is another one she picked out, Bill Wallace, No Dogs Allowed. I know he writes a lot of dog books. I don't know that much about this except that a girl loses her horse, and she is heartbroken by it. And then they end up getting a puppy in her family, and she has decided that she is not going to love this puppy. Just a quick, fun read. This is also one that she picked out. This is by Annie Wedkind. This is called A Horse of Her Own. It got good reviews on Amazon, so when we found it in a little free library, we grabbed it, but it's your kind of what I would consider a typical young girl horse rider trope, which is she works at a stable, I think. She ends up having a horse that she gets to ride, but he ends up having to leave. And so now her job is to train the new horse, and she's really, again, guarding her heart, and ends up getting to ride him in a competition with the hope that someday she gets her own horse. A horse of her own. The next one is The Cheshire Cat, a Dickens of a Tale. This is one that I found years ago. I think it is an allegory of all of Dickens's tales in one book. It is set in England, in London, I think, and it is the story of a cat and a mouse and cheese and characters like Oliver Twist. I've heard good things about it, and she picked it off the shelf. Next is The 68 Rooms by Marion Malone. So this is the story of two kids. I think it's Claire and Jack, I think. A boy and a girl. They end up at the Art Institute of Chicago together, and somehow they discover these really miniaturized rooms that are perfectly decorated, and there is magic that allows them to get into the rooms. And so this ends up being a mystery to figure out why is this happening, and they are coming across people who are actually real people in history and in time, and it's just a really cute, quick read. Princess Academy by Shannon Hale. So I really love The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. This is I should have put this one in the Newbery section, but this is a Newbery honor, and this is the story about Miri, who she's living kind of on the side of this mountain. These are people who produce certain products that go down into the town for sale. But suddenly it turns out that her village is the village where the princesses are going to come from. And so they all get sent to a princess academy and have to go through training and really kind of fight for their town and for the livelihood that their town has created. And it's very much of like a girl power book. I preferred Goose Girl, but my daughter was interested in reading this one too. So again, when we found it, I think I found it used somewhere for $1. I grabbed it. The last one for my oldest is Paint the Wind by Pam Munoz Ryan. I don't know that much about this one. I've read a couple of her books. This says that it is a horse story in the tradition of Marguerite Henry. So I think it's like Appaloosa horses that are in the wild and have to overcome some tragedy and danger to be able to survive. And I think there's a connection with a girl in here, and they end up saving her life or trying to. So my youngest will have half of the amount of books. And these are ones that it's kind of an equal. I've picked some out and he's picked some out. We've got 2 Newbery Award books. The first one is Miss Hickory by Caroline Sherwin Bailey. This is the story of this like acorn woman, country doll, that is made out of twigs and has a hickory nut for a head. And there she is. This is her adventures. And there's peril from birds, but there's also like really cute interaction with other animals, and it's just her getting lost and trying to find her way back home. And I know my mother-in-law really loved it, and I loved it when I read it. My daughter read it, and so he will read that. And then we have, this is such an old copy, but this is called Rascal by Sterling North. We love Calamity Jane, which is another raccoon story. And so this is the story of Rascal and his hijinks. It's just a really old book that I found for free. He chose Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego to read. We found this, I think, free. It even comes with all of the cards inside of it. but this is just a choose your own adventure in time. We really liked Case Closed, which is a choose your own adventure that was recommended by Chantel. Reads All Day. We loved that. And so when we found this, we thought, well, we'll just try this. So he loves Kate DiCamillo, loves her. Catherine Applegate as well. But this one is The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. I read this and really enjoyed it. It is kind of a similar vein as Miss Hickory and Hitty. What is the one? Hitty the 100-year-old doll. Similar idea. He's a China rabbit and it is his journey around the world. This is definitely, you know, typical for Kate DiCamillo, hard-hitting in some areas, but I think he's ready for it, and I really would like him to read it and just kind of start thinking about different perspectives. This is the Growly books, and this is the first one. It's called Begin. This is by Philip and Erin Ulrich, and if you are not familiar with this book, all of the ones that I am sharing today, this is my favorite. So this is the story of Growly, who is a little bear. As part of coming of age, these bears need to put on their pack and they go on a journey. It's a group thing. And then they end up coming back after a certain period of time, and then they're ready to start looking for a mate and to have their own family. He ends up receiving kind of this odd message at the time that he's supposed to go on this journey. And so he puts on his backpack and he gets a glider and he runs off of this cliff that these bears have safely been living on and goes down into this unknown territory that it appears no one has ever done before. And this is his journey. He befriends Chippy. There's Chippy. And it is not resolved in this first book. There are 2 more to this series, and then there's 1 more that's kind of connected. It is such a fun, plot-driven adventure book, and I'm so excited for him to read this. Next is The Forbidden Expedition by Alex Bell. This is part of the Polar Bear Explorers Club. The reason why I thought this was great for summer is because they are, I think, leaving the polar bear exploring part and going into the water. Maybe it's a Halloween one. Maybe we should save it for Halloween. So we've read the first one. Stella Starflake Pearl and her brave father go into the polar regions to do an expedition. And as a girl, she's really not supposed to be part of this, but she is allowed to because of her father. On that journey in the first book, she discovers something about herself. She's adopted and she kind of discovers something about her past. And it's about connecting with other people and being on a team with people that maybe you don't really like that much, and accepting each other for your faults and still being part of a team. So the first one's really great. We wanted to read the second one, and our library didn't have it, and so I went ahead and just grabbed it off of Thrift Books. So we have that. And then last, we have The Red Fox and Johnny Valentine's Blue Speckled Hound. This is by Richard Alexander. It is a little bit unusual for a middle grade read, but it is very heavy on the text. You know, there's a lot of text in here as well as pictures. And it is a story about, I think, a blue tick hound. What is it? Blue speckled hound. And a fox, and it has like multi-generational relationships in it. And I do always get nervous with fox and hound stories that they will end well, probably because of that Disney movie. But this is one that my youngest is going to read as well. Thanks so much for watching. Please feel free to let me know what in here that you've read and really enjoyed, or if there are any that you've read that you don't like, or just let me know what books your kids are reading this summer. I would love to, always am open to getting recommendations and ideas for more books. Until next time.